Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity of Boulder. Those of you who are joining us here in person, those of us who are joining us online, we love spending time with you every week. Is anyone here at Unity Boulder for the first time? If you are, put your hand on up. Our ushers are going to come down. Keep your hands up. Our ushers, so one over here as well. Keep your hand up. Our ushers are going to come and drop off a little gift to you that just says a little welcoming gift that you can learn a little bit more about Unity of Boulder with. So enjoy that. I'd like to ask everyone to give Unity of Boulder a big hand in, and I don't mean an applause, I mean help in the way that right now voting is going on for what's called BOCO Gold, and that's our local newspaper, the Daily Camera. Every year they do a best, it's a best of our town, and if you could go on there and vote for Unity of Boulder as the best house of worship, it really helps us out when new people come to town and they're searching for a new place. It puts us high up there in the search rankings, and also it says they were voted best of Boulder, which is obviously helpful. But we're just trying to spread this message as far and as wide as we possibly can, so please do that. If you have a moment, it only takes about 5 minutes. Let's see, today's speaker is going to be Jack Groverland. Cintisha will be back next week, but she is at her eldest daughter's bridal shower today and helping put that together, so she couldn't be here, but she will be back next week. So enjoy this talk.
During this chant, we will be collecting names to be put into the prayer box. And if you have anybody that needs prayer at this time, there's paper in the front of you, and you can just write the name down, and it'll be called out on Wednesday night at the prayer service, but it'll be prayed over for a whole week. Okay. You are the air I breathe. You are the air I breathe. You can sing with me. Your holy presence living in me, and I'm grateful for you. Together, here we go. You are the air I breathe. You are the air I breathe. Your holy presence living in me, and I'm grateful for you. And I'm grateful for you. So grateful for you. Okay, so we're going to sing in our, okay, choir, people want to sing, and you can all sing with us. I hope you got the handout. You all know this number. I know you can't wait to sing it, so I'll stand up. When I find myself in times of trouble, Brother Mary comes to me, speaking words that note, doesn't she? It's awesome. Okay.
Now I'd like to welcome to our stage today's musical guest, who is also just up here with the choir. Come on up here, Julie. This is Julie Roberts, who many of you have seen on our stage before, gracing us with her vocal talent. So, Julie, take it away.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. None of the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Yes, I can make it now. The pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue skies. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Rain, 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 bright, bright, sunshiny day.
Well, we had a slight fiasco this morning. About 3 minutes before I was going to speak at the 9 a.m. service, Mike, who is the church administrator, he handles all the technology, he handles all of the problems when we go astray. He's the most valuable person in the entire. You want my mic on? I will help you, okay. All right, so Mike is the most extraordinary, most valuable person in the whole scheme of things here at Unity. He may be the most valuable person in the country. Okay? He deserves that applause, let me tell you. I call him the magician. I'm getting an interesting feedback on this mic. See if you can figure it out, okay? Or call Mike. Anyway, he came into my office a few minutes before I was supposed to go out and give a talk at the 9 a.m. service, and he knocked very gently, and he opened the door, and he peeked in. He saw me sitting at my desk, and he said, "Now, Jack, what I'm about to tell you, I don't want you to choke up and cry." And because he's seen me before do this. He said, "There's not going to be any PowerPoints at the service today. The computer's just gone haywire. I've spent hours trying to fix it. Can't do anything about it. There's not going to be any PowerPoints." So I choked up and cried. Because my whole talk, I mean, it comes off of the whole idea of the PowerPoints, and I kind of piggyback on some of them and give information, and so it leads me through the talk. But anyway, the magician came through, and he's got the PowerPoint back for this service. So I've called off my lawsuit. Well, it was the actor Sylvester Stallone who was shooting the movie Rambo in some desert setting in some country. I don't know exactly which country it was, but it had a desert. Might have been Saudi Arabia, it might have been Morocco, someplace. But he had several desert scenes that he had to shoot. And he had to get some Bedouin tents set up in the area where this was going to take place. And he also had a small caravan of camels, 4 to be exact, that would be part of the scene, but also those camels were used to carry the filming equipment and water for the cast and everybody that would be out in that desert during the scenes. But he, and in the movie Rambo, how many of you seen Rambo movie? Raise your hand. Boy, I'm surprised to see that here because it shows that you people watch Rambo movies. I have to be real careful not to get into trouble. All right. So you watch Rambo movies, it's okay. And you know, Rambo's the guy that he outsmarts, outkills the bad guys who are always trying to outsmart and kill him. And that's how the movie goes. All the Rambo movies are just like that. But, so he's not as wise when he's not in that character playing Rambo because he was beside himself with a lot of upsetness over the fact that he couldn't get out to do this scene. In other words, every morning they were set to take off and go out to this desert area where the tents would be set up and they'd have everything set up so that they could start to do the scenes they'd have to do. Something went wrong, usually with the weather. You know, when you're doing a desert scene and you got to emphasize the hot desert sun, you can't have dark clouds over everything. So he ran into that. He ran into a sandstorm. He ran into a number of things that kept delaying it. And you have to know something. When you're shooting a movie like he's shooting, Rambo, you're losing probably $200,000 or $300,000 a day when you can't shoot those scenes. So he's really beside himself. One night, he says to the desk clerk at the hotel where he's living, "Do you know what the weather's going to be tomorrow?" And the desk clerk says, "The weather will be tomorrow what I want it to be." And Stallone asked him to explain that. And the desk clerk says, "The weather will be tomorrow what God wants it to be, and I always want what God wants." That's an interesting thought, but it happens to be a spiritual wisdom that many of the masters have shared down through the ages. I only always want what God wants. And it's a very high spiritual truth, and it's the kind of truth that takes you dramatically out of traditional religion. out of traditional thought and theology and out of even traditional philosophical perspective. It takes you into another way of being alive in life. Let me try to follow up with this whole concept. Krishnamurti, who was possibly one of the most famous teachers, spiritual teachers or guru from the East, India, but he did all of his teaching here in the United States. He wrote books and he taught for 30, 35 years. I don't know how many years. But it was at the end of his career that he had going to do a symposium at which he was going to make a great revelation to all the people that had been his followers for all that time. And people showed up, and again, like he always had audiences of 1,000 or more. The place was packed, and he had a couple of speakers speak before him. But then he got up to speak, and he started to take them through, and of course everybody was waiting for him to reveal the revelation that he had promised. But it was about lunchtime, so he stopped and he said, you know what, we're just going to have lunch. I'm going to share this revelation with you after lunch. So after lunch, when you come back, I'll share the revelation that has, in my life, allowed me to live a peaceful state. I'm always in a peaceful state, regardless of circumstances. So people came back from lunch, and they're all on the edge of their seat waiting to hear him express this revelation. And what he said is, I don't care what happens. And then he followed it up by saying, I never take issue with what happens. I am one with whatever is. I don't care what happens. I'm one with whatever is happening. So this is the path, this is the high hurdle on the path. We can follow spiritual practice in a very positive and focused way. That spiritual practice will take us to the levels of forgiveness, because forgiveness is a complete yoga. Will take us through everything so that we're forever, wherever we have situations and conditions and conflicts, we try to be considerate, forgiving, etc., etc., etc. But we arrive only when we arrive in the understanding. I never take issue with anything that is happening. So that you don't have any resistance to anything that's taking place in that way. You may have thought, this is an injustice, this is not the thing I would have take place, this is not wonderful, it's not good, but what he is saying, this guru, is that I'm never in resistance to what is. And of course, down through the ages, the masters have shared that wisdom. And Eckhart Tolle, recent master, shares it in this way. Can we have the first PowerPoint, please? You can read this in his book, Stillness Speaks, on page 43, paragraphs 3 and 4. Now is as it is because it cannot be otherwise. So if you're here now and you came for religion, now what you're getting is spiritual truth directly from the master of truth. The now is as it is because it cannot be otherwise. What Buddhists have always known, physicists now confirm, there are no isolated things or events. Underneath the surface appearance, all things are interconnected, are part of the totality of the cosmos. that has brought about the form that this moment takes. When you say yes to what is, you become aligned with the power and intelligence of life itself. Only then can you become an agent for positive change in the world. Can we take this PowerPoint back, please? This is, you know, they say this is a high truth. This is a hard truth. It offers us an opportunity to consider the high and hardest of yoga. For you to enter into the enlightened state of consciousness, you would become this. The now is as it is because it cannot be otherwise. What Buddhists have always known, physicists now confirm. There are no isolated things or events. When you get into contemplating that, it's going to take you to another place altogether. Underneath the surface appearance, all things are interconnected, are part of the totality of the cosmos that has brought about the form that this moment takes. When you say yes to what is, you become aligned with the power and intelligence of life itself. Only then can you become an agent for positive change in the world. So that is the type of thing that one seeking to find the abundant life promised by Jesus Christ meditates upon. Things like that. Things like that and A Course in Miracles, which call us to take to task our mundane awareness, that first level of awareness in which we were born, raised, and educated in the illusion of separation. It is the illusion of separation that creates a perception within us that is flawed. And that flawed perception is the underlying cause of all conflicts in relationships. It's the underlying cause of man's inhumanity to mankind, man's inhumanity to nature. It is the underlying flaw because in that initial state of consciousness, we grow up perceiving ourselves to be a separate body-mind in a world of separate phenomena, separate others, that have no real regard for my personal self-interests, my expectations. So we grow up in that definition of life. Naturally, in that definition of life, we are motivated by concern, fear, and forever trying to protect ourselves and then trying to manipulate or control conditions and circumstances to get the things we personally want. And on rare occasions when we get the things we personally want, we have a modicum of peace, but it doesn't last. Because it is an illusion, the idea of being a separate body-mind in a world of separate others. Totally illusion. The physicists today are proving that underneath all that seems to be separated, there is an underlying oneness. So that when we enter into that understanding, the idea of me or of self expands. Can you imagine now how you just put an end to religion? Religion is all about making you feel guilty about the things that take place, the things you can't handle, all the broken relationships, the bad attitudes, all of that. So the religion teaches you that to be right with God, you have to forgive. To be right with God, you have to do penance. To be right with God, you have to accomplish these particular things and serve and do this and do that. And that's religion. But to be right with God is to be
here and now, one with what is. That there's no inner resistance, anger, hatred, fear. It's not there. Because you're flowing with what is. What if you knew, as you will right now, if you're open-minded and open-hearted, that that is the will of God? You don't have to ask anymore, what is the will of God? So that I know how to do it. And when I do it, then I know I'll be right with God. And then maybe on some distant day, when I drop the body, I'll go into God's heaven. But what if you are called to enter God's heaven now? And there is no heaven beside the life you are presently living. That heaven is really a state of consciousness that one can arrive in if one is willing, courageous enough to take to task his initial state of consciousness in which he was raised to believe he's separate, she's separate, and special. And out of that comes all of the difficulties, the conflicts, and the wars, and man's inhumanity to man, in the supposition that I see things the way they are, I'm right, I'm going to make sure that this takes place the way it should. So you have all had an experience. I spoke about the experiences I had, I think, on Wednesday night, a couple of weeks ago. In the Eastern tradition, they call this state of consciousness of being in the present moment, totally, they call it samadhi. And I've been in that state a number of times, in which you see everything as sacred. Because in the state of samadhi, there is that joy of oneness. You've entered into what the physicists are saying is the underlying consciousness that gives life to the form of every moment. That underlying consciousness which we refer to as God. So in that moment you become one with God. Let me try to explain this to you. Perhaps when you were doing a hobby that you really like doing, maybe it's pottery, or maybe it's painting, you do painting, or maybe you're a writer, or maybe you just write, journals to keep up with things, or maybe you're a musician and you play a particular instrument a certain way, or maybe you're a cook, you love to cook and make really fantastic meals on special occasions. And at those times when you're doing your favorite hobby, or sometimes when you're writing and really in touch with what is coming through you, or you're making that great meal for Thanksgiving and it doesn't seem to be an effort at all because everything is just working out as you're doing it, and all of a sudden you stop and say, oh my goodness, where did the time go? You've all had that experience when you're writing or painting or doing pottery. You say, wow, where did the time go? What happened in those moments is that you lost the definition and the sense of self being separate from what was taking place. You see, quite often when we are separate in our awareness from what is taking place, we're doing it grudgingly, we have a lot of problems with it, we don't want to talk to people, they're getting in the way, whatever. But sometimes you're doing something like that, and the time just goes away. And what goes away with it is the illusion of being a separate self. The doer and that being done merge. There is only the process of what is being done. There is no doer doing it. You started off with the idea you're going to do this, but you became so focused on doing it right and beautifully, and you love it when you're doing it, that you lost the separation, and you became one with life ongoing. You became one in the now moment. And in that moment, you felt such peace and such joy. And there was no contingency in your mind about time. I got to get this done, or I have to get to it, or these people are in the way, or how am I going to get this done? I don't have enough of this stuff here. I have to go out and get some more stuff. None of that. We're talking about samadhi, and you can put it this way: the miracle of being truly alive. So that, having been made in the image and likeness of God, to live life in the most extraordinary, beautiful, miraculous, insightful ways is to come into this now moment without any fears, concerns, and second thoughts, and rightness, and wanting, and grabbing, manipulating, and figuring it out. No. Now here's the hard part. Who doesn't want to hear the hard part? If you don't want to hear the hard part, you can leave right now. Well, no, you can't leave now. You have to, I'll tell you what, you can leave now if you put $100 up here on the... The hard part is this. In those moments where we're doing what we love doing, and we lose that separation that holds us separate and apart from life itself, we do it when we are doing something we absolutely love doing. The masters of life are capable of doing that when they are involved in conditions and circumstances that are not in keeping with what they personally want to do. In other words, they are okay with it, whatever the circumstances may be. They're not just in that state of oneness when things are operating according to their expectations and having their expectations met. They're not. That's fine for all of us, but if you want to be a master, you have to have taken to task your awareness so thoroughly that you live in a higher dimension, so that there are things that you would rather not have happening, but you no longer lose the majesty of that mystical state of peace, which Eckhart Tolle refers to as a state of joy as well, because you're in a state of mastery. You are capable of flowing with whatever the conditions are and circumstances and doing what the moment requires being done. Because you have arrived in a place where it is no longer just you, the personality, having figured it out and doing it. It is God doing what is appropriate through you. And that is the level of awareness. That is the life that we are called to enter. To be emissaries of divine wisdom and truth without even having to think about it. Because this idea of self and its importance and its specialness has been diminished. You don't destroy the ego. Here's the hard part. The ego, we have so honored and lived for and by, diminishes and becomes the servant of God. That's why Eckhart Tolle will say this as well. Oh, well, let's have this on the overhead. Let's have this next PowerPoint. Taking responsibility for this moment means not to oppose internally the suchness of now, not to argue with what is It means to be in alignment with life. A simple but radical spiritual practice is to accept whatever arises in the now, within and without. Taking responsibility for this moment means not to oppose internally the suchness of now, not to argue with what is. It means to be in alignment with life. A simple but radical spiritual practice is to accept whatever arises in the now, within and without. A high hurdle on the path of yoga. Let me try to fill you in on who we are. This is who we are. We're good people. And good people will do things to try to, increase the goodness in life. They'll try to help out. And we do things like this. And from a religious perspective, even people who are religious are trying to do good things. So you might decide that you're going to go to the homeless shelter and serve food on a particular Saturday. Now, usually on Saturday, you might play golf with some friends, or you might have a meeting or lunch with some friends, but you've decided you're going to serve, so you go to the homeless shelter to serve. Now, if you're in an unenlightened state, when you're on that serving line, and all those homeless people are coming up with their tray, and you're putting the food on their tray, and they're reaching for the food they want, taking the stuff that they want, you see that some of them are taking so much food that there's not going to be enough left for the people at the end of the line. And you kind of can bite your tongue as you get through this, but then the next person's doing the same thing, taking more food than they should be taking, possibly more food than they'll actually even eat. They're going to leave it on their tray, but there's going to be people in the back of the line who aren't going to get enough food on their tray. And so you begin to get upset inside because you're unenlightened. You're not allowing the moment to be what it is. You might even become so upset you'll take issue. Start to tell people, no, you can't have that much. Without knowing, because you haven't practiced. You don't know. What is it you don't know? When you're getting upset on that serving line, what is it you don't know? You don't know that the people at the end of the line the day before were taking more food than they needed. You don't know, and we live in the not knowing state, even when we enter into the divine awareness. We don't know what the outcomes are going to be, but we do the one thing that the universe requires, is we're always at peace because we flow with what is. We don't have inner resistance to what is taking place. Can we have this next PowerPoint? You've got the second half of it there. Do you have the first half?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. It's all right. I'm at peace. You're fired, but I'm at peace. I'll read you the first part. I'll tell you how intuition works. Mike told me before the service that there was going to have the PowerPoints, but I even thought that those last PowerPoints, which I gave to Heather a couple of minutes, before we got started to type in. So it's always because we just don't have enough coordination anyway. Here's the first part of that. This is from Stillness Speaks, page 63. Whenever you are able, have a look inside yourself to see whether you are unconsciously creating conflict between the inner and the outer, between your external circumstances in that moment, where you are, who you are with, or what you are doing, and your thoughts and feelings. Can you feel how painful it is to internally stand in opposition to what is? When you recognize this, you also realize that you are now free to give up the futile conflict, this inner state of war. I'll read that again. That second part is up there, yeah. Whenever you are able, have a look inside yourself to see whether you are unconsciously creating conflict between the inner and the outer, between your external circumstances at that moment, that is where you are, who you are with, or what you are doing, and your inner thoughts and feelings. Can you feel how painful it is to internally stand in opposition to what is? Can you feel that? Here's a yoga practice, by the way. Whenever you're feeling this kind of resistance and negative emotions and thoughts are starting to arise, you have to take a holy pause. Because you're in opposition with what is. And it can't be otherwise. So can you feel how painful it is to internally stand in opposition to what is? And this is what Krishnamurti was talking about and what Jesus is talking about. Listen to the words of the Master of Life as he said it. I wonder if you ever even read it in the book of John. I always do what's pleasing to God. I always do what's pleasing to God. So, in conclusion, well, I'm going to do a meditation, a short one, but before that, I want to just finish up. Can we have this quote? Do you have another one in there? Do you have another PowerPoint? Okay. All right. The moment you enter the now with your attention, you realize that life is sacred. There is a sacredness to everything you perceive when you are present. The more you live in the now, the more you sense the simple yet profound joy of being and the sacredness of all life. You see how it puts an end to religion? You don't need a minister or a priest telling you to have to forgive. If you want to be right with God, at the end of your life, you'll go to a heaven someplace. What it's saying to you is, can you imagine if through your practice, all of a sudden, you felt this joy of the miracle that you take for granted every moment, the miracle of just being alive. If you sensed that miracle, if you really sensed the miracle of just being alive, you would recognize the sacredness of it all. Taking issue with any of it is a form of insanity that they practice in the Gaza, that they practice in Ukraine, that they practice in Africa. The senselessness of human illusion of separation. And so there it is. Take it back again, please. The moment you enter the now with your attention, you realize that life is sacred. There is a sacredness to everything you perceive when you are present. The more you live in the now, the more you sense the simple yet profound joy of being and the sacredness of all life. Take a couple of moments to meditate together. I'm probably running over time. It's okay. It must be okay. Is anybody not okay with taking some time for meditation? Raise your hand. Okay, ushers, have those people removed. Just take a couple of deep breaths and become as present as you can. We're here to allow the moment to be what it is and to release any particular cares or concerns that you may have brought with you. Just rest and breathe a moment. And now, bring to mind this ideal mantra. Just bring your awareness to this ideal mantra. Don't try to fight with any thoughts that interfere. Just let them come, let them go. Give your gentle attention to this mantra. Everything I look upon, everything I see, is only God waiting for me. Everything I look upon, everything I see, is only God waiting for me. Everything I look upon, everything I see, is only God waiting for me to awaken and be free. As we go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space, let us go forth with a greater devotion to the presence of God everywhere. And to this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. While we're preparing to do that, I'd like to say to the people that are watching this on live stream, you can scroll down on live stream to the place that says donate, and it'll give you the different ways, like right here, that you can donate to Unity of Boulder. And I know it's easier when you're watching this on screen at home to get up and walk away from the screen and not to be connected to the truth that you just heard. But I'm asking you to be connected enough to make some kind of donation to Unity of Boulder. And everyone here can bring to mind what it is they'd like to give to Unity. And we can bless that offering with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is. We have Julie to share her beautiful voice with us once again, and our incredible band to back her up.
When I'm in awesome wonder, consider all the worlds thy hands have made. I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, my power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee.
We're not going to have any group circling up in the back the way Santisha does at the end of the service. We're just going to sing Let There Be Peace on Earth, and we will circle up around these two sets of pews right here around the room. Just circle up. And when we sing Let There Be Peace on Earth, let's envision it going out to all of those people involved in discussing peace in the Middle East. Okay. So it is.
Okay, I release.
If you have a particular challenge you want to pray with someone about, just take a seat in the pew and our prayer partners will come up and sit with you and pray with you. Have an awakened day.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. God is open wide. Yes, I'm only for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm in the Spirit and my heart. Yes, I'm only here for God. No.